Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Week 11 Spreecast Episode 1. You might notice something a little bit different if you're watching live, and if you read the podcast description on iTunes, you'll notice that it's just me and my buddy Adam Leviton from Roto World and DraftKings. Happy to have him this week. We were very excited to have our friend Drew Dinkmeyer on with us, but I don't know if any of you saw the Deadspin article or the Vine of the Irish dad who did the GoPro the wrong way for the entire vacation, but that's actually Drew. That's actually Drew trying to figure out technical things. It's just he doesn't really understand the way that goes. He's one of the most brilliant DFS players ever, but if you ask him to figure out how to set up a camera, it's not really him. But Adam Leviton is here. Very excited to have him. JJ bailed on us this week, so Adam and I we're gonna talk some sports, talk some Week 11 NFL daily fantasy, and we'll just start it off. The Thursday night game, is this going to be one of the worst Thursday night games we've ever seen?
Well, first of all, it's my honor to be here on the B League version of the Swolecast. I'm waiting for my call up to the Friday show Swolecast, which may or may not be coming, but honored to be here on Thursday. Um, yeah, I'm fading the Thursday game in all my in on both sites actually. Um, it's just people want to play guys like Allen Robinson and Blake Bortles when the Titans' pass defense has actually been top 10, top 8 all year long, and it's not like the Bleeding Reed Wilson glory days of last year. I think that they're much improved in that area. And so I don't really want to play any of those guys. I don't really want to play Yeldon at a less than 100% and his elevated price. And I certainly don't want to play anybody in the Titans run game against a Jaguars defense that's quietly like top 2 DVOA. So yeah, I'm completely fading this game, and I would expect most of my head-to-heads to be completely fading. But if they don't, I'll be excited about it.
Yeah, this is a week I feel pretty comfortable like on FanDuel and DraftKings putting in entries on Thursday night with no players from that game. Like there's been some good Thursday night games, but we're now in the Jags Titan Thursday night game on NFL Network portion of the season where you can fade Thursday pretty easy.
Yeah,
Well,
like
we
think about this. This is like the sick part of everybody trying to like be anti DFS and like anti gambling. Like, what would the NFL's ratings be on Titans Jaguars on Thursday night if nobody had money on the game whatsoever? I mean, nobody would watch. It'd be pathetic.
0% chance I turn into any non-Cowboys game without DFS. 0%, like just drawing dead to watch a Tuesday or a Thursday night game. Like just absolutely drawing dead. We can talk about quarterbacks though, because I actually don't think there's an easy answer at quarterback this week. Like most weeks, you can kind of just point out sort of a chalk guy. I have a couple guys that I wrote up, but I don't actually feel my whole bit is the absolutes and like, oh, this dude's the only play. But I actually don't have any incredibly strong opinions about who to use in cash this week. So who are like your top two guys for cash games this week?
Yeah, everybody knows your bit, Davis. That's the whole thing though. Like I was at this DFS conference last weekend and Matthew Berry gave the keynote speech and his whole thing was like he was talking to fantasy writing people like and he was like, "Hey, stay in your lane, you know what I mean? Like do what you do and like create a brand." And Davis's brand is fucking is going all in whether it's right or wrong, you know what I mean? So
It's
it's
takes,
great.
dude.
You have the
It's
Matthew
takes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have the Matthew Berry seal of approval. Um yeah, so quarterback for me, like I'm having trouble spending all my money this week. Like there's so much
Yes.
value at wide receiver and running back that it's hard to spend. And so I think that's going to lead a lot of people to be like, well, I have all this money, let's just pay for Tom Brady. Or, I have all this money, let's just pay for Aaron Rodgers. If decided between those two, it would certainly be Brady, even at the thousand more. I think that the Vikings play so slow and play so run heavy and limit their opponent's number of plays per game that Rodgers, I think we can find better spots for him. But yeah, I think Brady is fine if you really want to spend. I mean, I almost never spend on DraftKings given the full PPR and given that they have legit starting quarterbacks in the 5K range. I almost never spend up to Brady, but I'm not against it completely in this spot where we have so much money to spend and in a spot where the Bills just funnel action towards the pass. Like everybody tries to throw on the Bills. And last time the Patriots played the Bills, they only attempted 10 running back carries. Tom Brady dropped back to throw 61 times, and that was in a game that the Patriots absolutely dominated from start to finish. So I'm okay with Brady this week. At the mid tier, I think Carr, again, is a decent play, although I do think the Lions will play better in this game. But the guy I'm leaning towards right now is the Sanchez, the butt fumble.
Oh, dude.
The one,
Oh, I was waiting for this
Mark
take.
Sanchez. So if you look last year, Mark Sanchez started 8 games for Chip Kelly last year, averaged 18.1 DraftKings points per game, had a ceiling of 26, had a floor of 8. That 8-point floor came against Dallas, and then he had a really another bad game against Seattle. And Dallas and Seattle obviously were and are, I think, tougher spots for quarterbacks. So in plus matchups at home, like the one he has this week against Tampa, I think I'd be really shocked if Mark Sanchez didn't score 15 DraftKings points. The only thing that concerns me is that Jordan Matthews sucks. And that's a big concern because beyond Jordan Matthews, they only have Miles Austin, and they only have, Zach Ertz as like a primary option, and Nelson Aguilar isn't playing well, and Huff the Magic Dragon can't play. So that's my bigger concern than anything with Sanchez is the weaponry.
Yeah, see, last year the thing with Sanchez was Jordan Matthews was playing like at a top 15 level at the position. Like you couldn't tackle him. He was always open. He was throwing slot corners down. Like in the Packers game, he legitimately just took Cameron Hayward and threw him to the ground on his way to the end zone. And this version of Jordan Matthews, who is playing without confidence, who is Sam Bradford is throwing him hospital balls. He's running 4-yard outs. Like whatever was that made Jordan Matthews great at Vanderbilt and as a rookie. I haven't seen that from him since like week 2 of this year. And I have a question for you. I've like asked every smart football person I know this, and I don't have a definitive answer. But can quarterbacks throw more droppable passes? Because I think Bradford's throws are so bad that they're just like more inherently droppable, even if they're catchable balls. Like I really think that's a thing.
Defined as like bad spirals or ball
Just like
location.
just ball, like even if the location is right, just like he throws a ball that is just harder to catch. That's really what I believe with Bradford.
I mean, I don't know what that means. Nobody at Oklahoma had a hard time catching his balls.
Well, that was a different version of Bradford. That was when Bradford was the big man on campus. It was before he'd been decimated, before Jeff Fisher and Schottenheimer got their claws on him and turned him into. They took a guy who threw 50 touchdowns his senior season in Oklahoma, won a Heisman Trophy, was a #1 overall draft pick, and they turned him into Nick Foles. That's really what it was like. It's like Bradford never had a chance in that organization, and it just kind of ruined him forever, which sucks because I'm a huge Bradford homer.
Yeah, I would say nobody had trouble catching Bradford's balls in the preseason either. And I know everybody just wants to poo-poo and write off preseason, but like preseason is like the only place where my ROI is like through the roof. I'm like a top 0.01% player in preseason. Don't give me regular season, but preseason is where it's at. And Bradford was the man for a little bit there. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the Jordan Matthews thing, I think confidence probably. I don't know. But also not scheming him correctly. Like you said, they're not getting him the ball except anywhere on 4-yard outs. It's difficult to be productive on 4-yard outs.
Yeah. So my deal with Sanchez is I think kind of the same thing you were pointing out, which is just the offense isn't good anymore. Last year the offense was really good. They had Macklin, they had Matthews, Ertz was playing well. Ertz has the most targets in the NFL without a touchdown reception, and one could scream regression, but I can also say Ertz just is not playing that well, and he just happens to get targets because his team runs a fair number of plays. I think if you're using a cheap guy, it's Keenum. It's
Oh God.
So here's the thing. Keenum plays for a bad offense, and his wide receivers are not very good. But if you want to talk about someone with DGAF who will huck the ball down the field because he sees a 2-yard window for Brian Quick or Kenny Britt, it's Case Keenum. It's so hard to explain. Like, he was so good in college, but obviously he played in the Conference USA with Houston. And he's had stints in the NFL where he's been effective for quarters, and then he's been completely ineffective for entire games, because that's just he's a high variance quarterback. If I was an NFL coach, I would keep someone like Keenum on the roster always, though. Like, I would so much rather keep Case Keenum as my third quarterback than I would keep Matt Castle as my third quarterback, because he just offers you a wider range of outcomes. I would not use him in cash, but I will for sure be using him in some tournaments. I think that my cash quarterback, though, is Carr, because outside of Darius Slay, the Lions are projected to start Nevin Lawson and Quandre Diggs, who combined have played like 310 snaps the whole season. They're backups, and teams just historically project more to pass on the road. And Carr has had more games with over 40 pass attempts than with less than 35. And I mean, dude, that offense is good. Like, that offense has produced 25 touchdowns this season. Like, if I told you that through 10 weeks the Raiders have produced 25 touchdowns, you probably wouldn't believe me, or you'd think that Latavius Murray had like 8 really long Adrian Peterson-esque rushing touchdowns. But so here, I'll pose this question to you: Carr or Stafford? Because I think that's the chalk this week.
Yeah, I prefer Carr there. But I have no problem with Stafford. I think Stafford's floor is a little bit lower, but I kind of want to play Crabtree too, and I'm not sure I want to play
Yes.
Calvin or Golden State. And even in my head-to-heads now, just from like a game theory perspective, like if I'm playing a mass volume of head-to-heads, I want to give myself a higher ceiling, which is like something that Bale kind of opened my eyes to. Like there's different roster construction for
Yeah.
head-to-heads versus 50-50s, because obviously in 50-50s, it's like a 60th percentile lineup is just as good as a 90th, but in head to head, 90th is way, way, way better than 60th. So I want to play Crabtree, in which case I would prefer Carr to playing Stafford in my head to heads. But for me, I think Sanchez is fine for cash, and I actually think Ty God, the God, going up against the evil Empire in the Patriots is okay. Do you have any Ty God takes?
My Ty God takes is that this Patriots offense is going to look a lot different than people expect. Like, they lost legitimately like 60% of their market share of yards on offense. Like, it's going to look different. It's going to be painful. Brady is going to miss LaFell and Keyshawn Martin on some deep balls really bad a couple times. And I don't think that this is an overall high scoring game. And I think that if Rex gets into the mud with Belichick, he's not going to try and like blow out to a lead or anything like that. Like, I don't think he's going to try and exploit or run away. Like he would love to win this game. Rex would love to win this game 17-14. That's like Rex's ideal
Right.
outcome. But I think
Yeah, and
Tyrod, much like
we
Cam, has a high floor.
Yeah, and we've seen games where Ty God only throws like 12 or 15 passes in an entire game. And yeah, so I think I prefer Sanchez to Ty God, but agree with you on Carr. My problem with Keenum is I know that like if you put all your Keenum stuff into like all the models and all the spreadsheets, it comes up gold because the Ravens pass defense has been so bad. But coming out of the bye, with Jimmy Smith and Ladarius Webb healthy, like Jimmy Smith and Ladarius Webb can actually play. I know they didn't do it in the first part of the season, but it kind of scares me going on the road to Baltimore for a spot where I feel like maybe their defense is turning a corner.
I think that that's completely reasonable, and the reason that that is reasonable is because Jimmy Smith and Ladarius Webb are good. They just have not played
Right.
well. Like, they've been, we've seen Jimmy Smith and Ladarius Webb be like two of the 10 best corners in the NFL on the field at the same time. And I don't know if it's a scheme thing or if they were hurt or whatever was happening. So like that's why I would, and like I'm not Soccer Dave. I'm not ever coming out here and telling you to play Mike Vick, Case Keenum, Blaine Gabbert, whoever it might be in cash. My take is that Derek Carr is probably my guy, but actually things set up this week where I might just play Cam just because I'll have the money, and like getting to root for Cam Newton is just, it's just a treasure. Like, I love to just be able to sweat Cam for an entire weekend. Do you have any thoughts on the matchup for him?
Oh, it's ideal. I mean, I thought Cam would be like 10 to 12% owned. I put in my article today. I think again, like you said, people are going to have money, might not want to go all the way up to Brady. I think they might go to Carson, they might go to Cam, they might go to Rivers, and I'm okay with all three of those guys. Definitely prefer Cam, I think, and then Carson close second, with Rivers a little bit behind there. But yeah, this is not like I think I heard you say like either last week or 2 weeks ago. Like I can make an argument for 10 quarterbacks in cash. I might be able to do the same thing this week. Like you definitely prefer
Yeah.
Cam over Carson.
Yes, definitely because basically I think that the range of outcomes with quarterbacks, like almost with all quarterbacks, other than Cam Newton, the range of outcomes is wider. Cam is going to score between 16 and 24 DraftKings points every single week. The only way he goes, like he will almost, I don't think he'll ever score less than 12, but the only way he goes over that is if Ted Ginn doesn't have 4 drops, but you can pretty much pencil Ginn in for those drops every single week. And I just think the matchup is excellent. Something that I noted was right out of the bye week, they were giving Tolbert and Jonathan Stewart more work around the goal line, but over the last 3 weeks, Cam has had 9, 9, and 10 carries, which means I think they were probably giving him a little bit of a rest, and now I think they're kind of chasing the undefeated season, so I think they're more comfortable giving him that work. Like, I think this profiles as a really good spot against a bad team for him.
Yeah, no, totally agree on Cam. We didn't mention Brock.
So, you first, because I haven't watched him. If I'll be honest, I've normally watched a bunch of these. I've normally watched a bunch of these guys in college, but I didn't watch Brock at
Yeah,
all.
I'm not going to use Brock at all, but I do think it's a massive upgrade for Demarius
Yes, it
Thomas.
is an upgrade.
Oh, it's just a massive upgrade. Like Brock is not some like guy off the street like Case Keenum. He is not a guy that is a rookie, undrafted. This was a second round pick 4 years ago. Like he's been learning the NFL for 4 years, and over the last three, learning from Peyton Manning. Was a basketball prospect, 6'8", 240. Has some mobility, able to do the rollout stuff that Kubiak
Right,
wants. We saw him
that's a
throw
big
for
thing.
yeah, and we saw him throw for 140 yards in less than a half last week. I believe he connected with Demarius 6 times, and I know that was all comeback garbage mode, but I think that Brock will play way, way better than people expect. I would be willing to bet you on Brock more DK points than Keenum.
You wanna put a 25er on that on Brock versus Keenum?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
PayPal me,
booked.
bro.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one, and I think that I mean the thing is I just love Keenum. Like I very much remember him at Houston, and like I don't know, there are some football players that you just like and you want to see succeed, and he's definitely one of them. Whereas I have no attachment to Osweiler, but that's a pretty good discussion of the quarterback position. I think Carr and Cam are going to be sort of my main guys, but as of it's Thursday. I don't have my tournament team set. I don't know exactly. I have not tried to figure out my exposures yet. But let's move on to running back. This is another weird week where there's not a chalk option. I don't think. Like I think there's pretty severe. Like all of the top 3 guys you would consider. I think there's pretty good reasons to not roster all of them. So like, the main one is I'll throw out Devontae versus Peterson. Just who scores more fantasy points between them.
Yeah, see, I think it's a mega chalk week. I think everybody's going to have Devontae and everybody's going to have Charkandrick, don't you?
Yeah, everyone's gonna have Wes, but I'm just saying of the expensive guys. Like Wes legit like 45% owned in the Millionaire Maker.
Right. Yeah. So I think Devontae has a like the highest floor on the slate by 5 points. It's not even
That
like a
was what I wrote
question.
as
Like,
well.
yeah, I mean, it's not even a question. Like we've seen Adrian Peterson get bottled up at times. Devontae Freeman, because he plays so well in the pass game, there's really not a threat of that happening. Like he's in the top 20 in the NFL in just receptions, and not for running backs. I mean, just for anybody. So yeah, I'm using Devontae for sure, and I think a lot of people are going to go West, Devontae, and Peterson, like fit all three of them into DraftKings lineups. But yeah, if you're like on FanDuel, if I have to pick between Peterson and Devontae, I'm going Devontae.
Yep, that was the decision I made. But Peterson is significantly cheaper on DraftKings. I think an interesting spot is, and this will be the contrarian play is Marshawn Lynch at home against San Francisco. He's been banged up. He's probably going to play in this game. Let me see how many carries. He only had 8 carries against Arizona, but that was just kind of a weird game. He would be the swerve expensive running back. Do you have any thoughts on him? I mean, Seattle sucks. They suck.
Right. So Marshawn Lynch has been hit in the backfield, I believe, more than any other like starting running back in the league, and like the highest percentage of his rushing yards have come after first contact. Like their offensive line is just absolutely positively brutal. Will that matter against the 49ers defense that is absolutely brutal? Like if you would have told me a year ago that we could have Marshawn Lynch at home against the bottom five defense for 6,700, I'd be like, okay, like let's get it all in. Now there's more questions. Like not only does this dude have like groin issues or ankle or whatever he has, but sometimes he like doesn't show up for the first quarter because his back isn't loose. Like I can't breathe when that happens, man. So yeah, I mean Lynch, I think when we're talking about fades on guys like Freeman and Peterson, we have to have a reasonable expectation that they'll fail and that the guy we're swerving to has the same kind of ceiling. I just don't know if Lynch does.
Yeah. So my thing with Freeman is for sure lock 22 touches a week. If they fall behind, he'll have 5 receptions. If they win the game by 10, he'll have a touchdown. But he sucks, dude. Like the wild efficiency that was there for him for a month while he was tearing apart the league is like it's dead. It's not.
Sure.
He had fresh
Yeah.
legs. He was there, but it's gone now.
See, here's my thing. Like, and this, I don't know if you guys notice, like on Twitter, like I don't get into talent evaluations. Like I know I'm not that good at it. I know I'm not like a talent evaluator. I leave that to you or to Evan or to Josh Norris or to whoever else I respect. So like try to think of this thing as more of like a usage type deal. Like when are they going to be on the field? How often are they going to get the ball? And how often they're going to get the ball in situations where they're going to produce fantasy points. So yeah, I don't know if Freeman is any good or not, but I know that when he touches the ball that much in that offense, that
Right.
he's going to be productive.
Dude, I rostered Jarvis Landry and Cash last week. Like I've grown as a human being. Like I will use players in DFS that I think suck just because of the
Right.
usage. And Freeman is definitely one of those guys. So
Right.
you can. All right, I'm gonna let you talk about Sharkhandrick West before I go on my Jeremy Langford soliloquy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame that DraftKings lowered Charkandrick's price 300 from 4,800 to 4,500 as he goes from smashing at Mile High, which there were a lot of sharp people on Charkandrick last week.
Yeah.
I was not one of them. It was like we knew we were going to get a guy who was going to touch the ball 20 to 25 times at a low ownership. Yeah. Denver's defense is elite. Yeah. He was on the road, but maybe I should have taken a shot on that. But now that everybody's seen him do it to Denver to lower his price 300 ahead of a game in which he's facing the Rams, which have the league's worst run defense DVOA and number 30 in yards per carry allowed, it's just like a joke. So I don't plan on fading Charkandrick in tournaments, but I don't know, man. Like anytime you can project a guy for 50%, I feel like there's a case to be made for fading him. I'm not good enough at GPPs to make that case.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling with football, and I was talking about this with draft cheat Peter Christensen, who I think you probably met last weekend at New York. He made a really interesting point to me when we were talking last about tournaments, and in baseball, it makes a ton of sense to just fade super popular chalk options because opportunity is basically equal for all players in baseball. They're all going to get 4 at-bats. They'll have the platoon advantage for half of them. Sometimes they won't have it at all. But the opportunity is generally the same. Whereas in football, it's just not the case. Some guys just clearly have more opportunity in better positions. So in football, I don't think that just like fading the chalk is by itself a good strategy. I think in baseball, fading high ownership percentages just based off of ownership percentages is fine. But that mentality has just it's become so popular to like talk about ownership percentage and game theory and like at the end of the day, you're trying to score the most possible points. And like last week, someone I was really high on was Jeremy Langford, and he was 1% owned. So that was great. That led to me having a lot of tournament scores that were pretty nice. But this week, Jeremy Langford's going to be like 20% owned, and I'm still going to be all over him because the volume and the opportunity is like no one in his price range I think offers the same opportunity and the same upside because he's destroyed a good defense and a bad defense, and I think he's pretty clearly the lead back. Do you have any thoughts about Langford in this spot?
Yeah, so I mean his price, I don't know what it is on FanDuel. I haven't looked really hard at FanDuel yet,
It's like
but
60. It's like
5,600.
67.
Right, so like he's like free on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's up to 5,600, which is only 400 less than DeMarco Murray. Only 1,200 less than Adrian Peterson and Denver's defense. I mean, I know the Rams have a good defense. I don't think that they're in the same class as Denver's defense. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I certainly like Langford, but I prefer West, Peterson, Freeman for cash, and I might prefer McFadden if we knew he was 100% healthy also against Miami with Romo back.
Yeah. So let's talk about I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm biased. I'm emotional about the situation, but just kind of project the Cowboys offense for me this week.
Yeah, so the whole thing with the Cowboys when Romo and Dez were healthy is like they hold the ball for these outrageously long drives and they churn the clock and they have the ball for 40 minutes in a 60-minute game. They weren't able to do that. There were far less red zone opportunities. There were far less plays per game for the Cowboys offense. But now that Dez is healthy and Romo is healthy, or at least relatively so, I just feel like it's a great spot for McFadden to get on track. I mean, he's faced Seattle, the Giants, Tampa, three top 10 run defense in the last 3 weeks. Now he faces Miami, which has been getting absolutely gashed. So, yeah, if it wasn't for all these other great plays at running back, I'd certainly be high on McFadden. I know he popped up on the injury report today with a groin injury, so that's something to track. But like McFadden has the same usage as Devontae Freeman right now in that offense.
He does, and I wrote McFadden up. He's in the column this week. He will be in probably not a plurality of my lineups. I would say I'll probably have like 30-40% exposure to McFadden. So, and this is something that you actually just mentioned that you'd learn from Bales, which is you still do need to seek upside in your head-to-head lineups, like because having one elite performance can swing a ton of your games, particularly if your opponents don't have that player. And I think Langford has like demonstrably better upside than Darren McFadden. McFadden is not he's not going to rip off. He's not going to score an 83-yard touchdown. Langford already has 3 plays over 20 yards. He's back-to-back games with 22 or more touches. The most encouraging thing to me is, and this is such like an anecdotal like football thing, but both of his red zone touchdowns, it was 2 carries in a row. It was 1 carry where he didn't quite get there, and then the coaches called his number again, and he scored. And to me, that's like a cool thing for a coach to do, which is basically to be like, all right, Jeremy, go in there, go score this touchdown. Mm-hmm. And like I think he's a really pivotal piece for them. And I mean, how crazy is it that Chicago is favored over Denver? Like that's nuts.
Yeah, it's just Brock hate. I mean, the Denver defense doesn't scare you at all. It gives you zero pause on.
No. It gives me pause, but I also believe that the number one mistake that daily fantasy players is overrating matchup in comparison to supply. Like if we deem supply volume and efficiency, like a good player who's gonna get 22 touches or 13 targets if it's a wide receiver in a not great matchup is probably a better DFS play than someone who's not as talented with a comparable workload in a good matchup. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I will say, like, people that had the Charkandrick Langford combo last week, it's like guys who play well in the pass game, and we saw it like with Dion Lewis too, who like destroyed in week 2 against the Bills. It's like if your running back can play very well in the pass game, sometimes the matchup isn't as poor as it's perceived.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing is this Denver defense. A lot of all defenses is playing with a lead, and it doesn't. I think this game script projects for neither team to really play with a huge lead unless there are a ton of turnovers early. Yeah. All right. Any like these cheap running backs you want to mention? Like I think we kind of talked about all the core plays.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to want to play DeMarco Murray, especially if Ryan Matthews, who's in the concussion protocol, is ruled out. I mean, if I would only consider him if Ryan Matthews is ruled out, and if so, I'm still a little shaky on it at 6K.
Yeah, I agree. Like I was talking to Dan, Mr. Tuttle 05 earlier, like in our chat, and he was like, "Man, I'm really on Murray this week." And I was like, I understand the thought process, but that's a good run defense. Like they're 4th overall by DVOA. Like if we're off of Langford because of matchup, then you have to be off of Murray for matchup as well. Like and
yeah,
the Matthews thing being out is big because I mean Matthews has played better than Murray this year and has gotten the goal line work, but I'm not overweight on him. I don't think he's played that well. And I don't think that offense is going to create a ton of chances.
I see Drew Dink in the chat there saying Murray has averaged 25 touches a game. But I've seen, I mean, I don't have the data on this. I'm sure Dink does, but the goal line, it seems like they're like constantly pulling Murray on the goal line. I saw Matthews walk in at least 2 or 3 touchdowns from the goal line recently, and I think a large part of DeMarco Murray's projection even before the year, like for season long. When I was thinking about season long, it was like, yeah, DeMarco Murray is going to score 15, 18 touchdowns this year in that elite Eagles offense, and that was a huge part of his projection.
Yeah, I mean, if Drew wanted to talk smack to us, he should have figured his camera out. This is our show, man. All right. Wide receiver wide receiver's hard this week. Like, if you just go and look at the most expensive wide receivers, there's question marks with all of them. Julio faces Vontae, Hopkins against Revis, Edelman is out, Des Bryant with a maybe healthy Tony Romo, and they play at gross offensive pace. AJ Green against Patrick Peterson. Demarius and Evans are kind of where I start thinking about guys that I like for cash. Kind of sounds like you're on Demarius maybe over Evans.
Yeah, I think it's real close. It's just frustrating because like I'm always like, man, I wish I could find the money to pay for Julio this week, right? I wish I could find the money to pay
Yeah.
for Nuke this week, and this week I finally have the money to do it, and it's like, well, I'm not going to spend 9,300 on a guy when he's facing Bonte, or 8,800 on a guy when he's facing Darrell Revis. So yeah, I think people are underestimating Brock. I already mentioned that. I think it's real close between Demarius and Evans. I don't expect Vincent Jackson to play. I don't expect Austin Seferian-Jenkins to play, which means that Mike Evans has one of the highest target projections on the week once again. The Eagles give up so many plays per game to their opponent, even though the Eagles secondary and their defense as a whole has played way, way, way better. It's going to be a lot of volume for Mike Evans in this instance. So yeah, I think it's close between Evans and Demarius, and I would throw Larry Fitzgerald in there too, if and only if Michael Floyd and John Brown are both out or limited. I mean, those guys are both missing practice today, I believe, with their respective hamstring injuries.
Yeah, I think an interesting point to be made is that Vontae has been burnt a couple times this season, like on specific plays. So I actually think Julio's like you're going to get him at like 5% owned probably in tournaments this week because no one is touting Julio Jones this week. So like I think I probably will build a couple rosters with him. But for me, Demarius and Evans is pretty close. Evans is likely the guy I'm going to go with in cash, and I'll probably split exposure to them. In tournaments, and I'm pretty cool with that. Although, dude, Demarius gets to play against Kyle Fuller, who is 5'11", 190 pounds, so he might
Yeah,
just absolutely
exactly.
destroy that spot.
Right, exactly. And like all the little quick screens and stuff that like Peyton like couldn't even like get the arm strength to like complete a bubble screen, like Brock is gonna sling it over there, man. I feel like people are down on Demarius because of what Peyton's done to him, and rightfully so. But now we have him at what 7,300. Like that's a tragedy.
Yeah. Also, I mean, my favorite thing this season has been to tweet about how bad Peyton has looked without Decker. Like, I think that's one of my favorite points of this season. Which brings us to our natural transition point, which is I need some level-headed analysis on Eric Decker versus the Houston Texans because I obviously love him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what are the odds? Like who has a better touchdown projection, like Rob Gronkowski or Eric Decker?
Dude. I mean, at this point, it's got to be close. Like Decker, didn't score a touchdown against New England. He just had 6 for 94 instead.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like we talked about before, like it's hard to play. It's been hard to play Decker over the last month or so. He played on Thursday. He was like hurt with his knee and questionable. Like we didn't know if Fitzpatrick was going to play. Blah blah
Right.
blah.
Yeah.
This is a spot where it seems like then you can certainly play Decker. I don't know. It's just like line of construction hasn't taken me kind of to that mid
It's a
range
weird
there because
spot.
I'm right. I mean, everybody I assume is playing Amendola. I want to play Stevie Johnson, and if I'm playing Charkandrick also, it's like my third wide receiver I'm gonna have to spend some money on. So that's where I've landed in the Crabtree maybe, or maybe Evans or Demarius. I mean, you definitely think Decker over Crabtree?
No, see, like that. So those are two guys both in my column this week. Like Crabtree and Decker are like the mid-tier guys. Like I think this is a week you can leave some salary left over because you would play Crabtree over Cooper if they were the same price because of the matchup. But Cooper is $800 more expensive. You made a really good point though. Like I think Stevie Johnson at 3,900 is actually probably a better play than Amendola for real.
Yeah. Oh, Stevie's the nuts. I mean, he was unlucky not to smash in that Monday night game, and then he goes to a bye, and everybody is kind of off him. But nothing's really changed. I mean, Gates is still, I think, less than 100%. Probably no Ladarius. Probably no Malcolm Floyd, and we know no Keenan Allen. So even though Kansas City, I think, has improved their pass defense, much like I think Baltimore is on the verge of doing, it's still a spot where Stevie's going to get 10 targets from Philip Rivers at 3,900.
Yeah, and I mean everyone wants like everyone they love the shiny new toy. Like, oh, Gurley is back healthy. We're gonna play. Gurley's gonna be 80% owned in cash games. Oh, Stevie Johnson is the injury replacement this week. He's 80% owned in cash games. Now it's Danny Amendola. He's gonna fill in for Edelman, except like he's not though. The early reports out of New England are that Keyshawn Martin is coming in on two wide receiver sets, and the Patriots love to do that jumbo set with Chandler, Gronk, Blunt, LaFell, and whatever wide receiver. And if that wide receiver is Keyshawn, that's like 30 snaps right away that Amendola loses.
Yeah, I think I saw your boy Salfino tweeting about this. Are you on the camp that like Edelman is not that good and he was just a product of the Patriots system?
I mean, dude, if I'm gonna be honest with my takes, yeah, I don't think Edelman is that good. I think Amendola is like a really
Right.
comparable player. He doesn't. So the thing that Edelman does much better than Amendola is he can make that move for like 4 extra yards that Amendola has. Like if it's 3rd and 7 and you throw the ball 5 yards deep to Amendola, he's not making that first down. Whereas Edelman can make that first down. But that's more of a real life thing than a fantasy thing. Like I think for fantasy, they're essentially the same player. And like that might be a hot take, but literally anyone who's like Edelman is so much better. He does all these things. Like it's all going to be completely subjective. Subjective. It's not going to be anything based in data. Drew just put in the chat that since 2012, Edelman is averaging 8 yards per target from Brady. Amendola 7.7. They're the same player, and people like bristle
Yeah.
against that take, but it's true.
Well, people have this bias against Amendola because he's injury prone, which is like kind of a word I don't even, or a phrase I don't even believe in. I believe Amendola has now played in like 37 straight games or something like that, but people hate him from like, I remember like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, we had to do bold predictions for the Roto World magazine. And one of mine was when Amendola was in St. Louis with Josh McDaniels, and my bold prediction was that he was going to catch 100 passes, and he caught like nine, and then like died, like he just like out for the season. And like ever since then, everybody has this super huge, I think, injury bias against Amendola. So I think Amendola can play. I think Edelman is absolutely awesome. But the difference between those two is like you mentioned, Edelman played half his snaps at Z and half in the slot, whereas Amendola has only shown to play slot in New England. So that you're right, that is going to limit his snaps. So I don't think that sliding an Edelman projection into Amendola is fair. I do think Amendola will see 8, 9 targets against Nickel Roby, who is very easily burnable. So obviously, I'm not fading Amendola, I'm not fading Stevie, and I'm not fading Sharkander.
All right, cool. I mean, like those are all good takes. I don't have any like super punt wide receivers this week. That's about as low as it gets. You should talk a little bit about the Crabtree Cooper matchup because we kind of just glossed over it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's saying that Darius Slay is going to shadow Amari Cooper. I mean, I'm not going to go out here and say that Darius Slay is Darrell Revis just because he's played well the last few weeks, but I don't think there's any doubt that Crabtree is going to have the better matchup. Like you mentioned, the Lions are pulling guys off the street to start at corner in this game, and Crabtree has seen more targets and more red zone targets anyways than Amari Cooper. So Crabtree was very popular last week, didn't have a good game, but I don't think that that's going to stop people from getting back on him this week.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's like the same. That's the same analysis that I have. Like, I think Crabtree is the one that you want in cash. I think Cooper is interesting for tournaments because Slay has been beaten by some good wide receivers this year. Like his run of dominance is like recent, like over the last month. So it's like a spot where you could get the better wide receiver for a little cheaper. But the question of the week is, what do you do with Gronkowski with Edelman out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously playing him on FanDuel. That goes without saying. I think the bigger question is what to do with Gronkowski on DraftKings, where, you know, Jordan Reed is 3,000 cheaper and Antonio Gates is 3,000 cheaper. It just like makes such a huge difference. And I haven't really played Gronk on DraftKings in cash very much at all this year. I think once I played him against the Jaguars, but it's kind of been a big difference maker for me not to be on Gronk. Even though I haven't done that well with tight end, I haven't tied up 8K in a guy who they're only throwing the ball to 7.5 or 8 times a
So
game.
so
And this kind
tilting.
of thing,
So tilting.
yeah, I mean, think about this is the take I have on Gronk. It's like the matchup. People last week were like, "Oh, you have to play Gronk. He's playing the Giants." It's like I don't care who Gronk is playing. He's going to smash no matter what the matchup
Whoever.
is. My only
Yeah.
question with Gronk is how many times are they going to throw him the ball? And for me to pay 8K for a guy who only sees the ball between 7.5 and 8 times a game is just not something I'm in the habit of doing. That said, I have all this extra money this week. Like I'm not gonna like spend it or like use it on toilet paper or like sleep with it. Like I'm gonna spend it somewhere. So I could definitely see myself getting on Gronk and cash for the second time all year.
Yeah. So my thinking with Gronk is they need him now. Like they're going to need him to move the chains now. Like they had not in the past because they had Lewis who was playing so well. They had Edelman playing really well. LaFell was even occasionally making good plays. But the narrower the scope of that offense gets, the more that Belichick and Brady are going to have to take Gronkowski out of the garage. And it's not a fantasy sports take, but I mean, no one knows the Patriots better than Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons is a legit god of Patriots takes, and like probably has inside info. And something he said on like his podcast all year is they're keeping Gronk healthy. Like that's the move. Is they're trying to keep Gronk healthy. They're leaving him in to block a lot so that Brady doesn't get beat up. And what he said this week was Brady's coming out of the garage. They're taking the Ferrari out onto the highway. And I mean, even if they don't, I mean, what other tight end do you feel super confident in getting 7 targets? Like I got Greg Olsen and I got Jordan Reed. Those are the two other tight ends who I think will get 7 targets this week for sure.
Yeah, I did a show with Soccer Dave this morning, and he prefers Kelsey to Gates, and I think he said he prefers Kelsey to Reed also. Obviously, there's major usage questions with Travis Kelsey every week. I don't know, man. I play Jordan Reed like every week,
Every
and
week.
I don't know.
Yeah, same.
I haven't looked too hard at how Carolina defends the tight end position. But I'm
They
not sure it
defend
really
it.
matters too much.
They defend it well, but they give up like 7 targets to tight ends per week. So
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Paying 3K more for Gronk, I don't know. I feel fine about it this week. You made good points that they're gonna have to use him, but it's just so scary because like if he only catches like even like at 7,700, even 7 catches for 80 yards with a touchdown isn't even like smashing value, and I feel like um it's hard to get more than that for him from him the way they're using him. Now maybe this week they'll change the way they're using him.
I It's tough, dude. It's like one of those things where like I've never felt so flustered by a player as I like normally
Yeah.
I can just give a take and I can be like this is the way I feel and it's going to happen and if it doesn't happen the coach is an idiot. But like with Gronk like it's really been hard to figure out like what they're going to do with him like week to week.
What
And
about Gates?
sometimes
Do you have a Gates take?
so my Gates take is that he's not particularly healthy. The Kansas City front seven is really good. Like that, like if they had a defensive strength, that was what you would say it is. And he hasn't really been asked to block, but without Green, I don't. Do they bring in John Phillips to come in and block more? Do they ask Melvin Gordon to block more? Woodhead is like fine, but he's not. He's not the. He's just too small to be a super effective blocker. Like I don't have a. I just wouldn't use Gates just because I don't like to use old guys who aren't healthy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, coming out of a bye, in theory, he should be healthy. I know he was limited in practice yesterday. I don't know what the deal is today, but I don't think they'll use him as a blocker, even though they need blocking help. I mean, they're desperate for pass catchers given their
He'll probably
situation. I
just
mean, I assume.
straight play wide receiver this week. You'd think.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with Gates. I'm okay with Reed. I guess I'm okay with Kelsey. And then the DVP crowd, which I am not a part of whatsoever, but the DVP crowd is going to be on Eric Ebron.
Ebron. I'm not a DVP guy, but I kind of like Ebron just because he's cheap and should see some targets.
Yeah.
Like I think he's fine, but like my personal roster construction probably not going to lead me down to making a ton of Ebron teams.
Exactly. You don't need to go down to Ebron at all.
Yeah. All right, dude. Do you want to make a DraftKings team?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
All right, cool. We can do that. Do you have any? Well, real quick before we do this, you got any DST takes? I think defense is hard this week.
So, I mean, if you have the money, I don't know. I don't know how I feel from like a game theory or principle perspective on spending 4K on a defense when you can have the Bears for 2K and spending 4K on Seattle. That said, the 49ers have the lowest team total, I believe, in the last like 3 years or something insane like that. And, Blaine Gabbert played fine against Atlanta at home. Going to Seattle as Seattle is off of a loss is just a totally different story. So, we're gonna have a ton of money. I just don't feel great about paying 4K for a defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's like I can't see myself doing it, and I mean the Seattle defense hasn't even played particularly well, so yeah, the defense that I would like to use was probably actually the Panthers against Kirk, just because Kirk loves to throw the YOLO ball.
Yeah, and what about Ravens against Keenum DGAF?
That's it's an interesting one. I actually kind of like the Texans for cheap, just because Fitzpatrick also likes the YOLO ball. He takes some sacks. The Jets' run defense has been or the Jets' run offense has been really bad. They're averaging like 2.8 yards per carry over the last month, and Ivory had 23 carries for 29 yards last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Texans are like super motivated. JJ Watt is such a loser, though. Do you believe what the stuff he
No,
says?
he's such a clown. Like the biggest clown. Like that guy is such a phony. Like he's like his whole thing last off season was like, yeah, I'm gonna go train in the woods with this shack with a concrete floor and it looks like a penthouse. Like that dude is a fraud. Like people want to talk about like the Cam Newton fake smile, dude. JJ Watt is as fraudulent as it comes. Just the worst. Yeah, I hate
Yeah,
that
I
guy.
didn't. It really like it hit home with me for him after the game when they were interviewing him on Monday night. It really hit me how much of a loser he is.
Yeah, he does. He sucks. Um, which may like I'll have to root for him. Like I'll have to be rooting for him to do JJ Watt football things. He's a great football player. He's great to watch, but like off the field, he's just a straight donkey. All right, you want first pick?
Are we making a tournament team or are we making a cash
We're, we're,
team?
we're making a tournament team. I'm gonna put this in the $9 slant.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll take first pick. I think for a tournament, a guy that we did not discuss that I think is an interesting pivot off of Stevie and off of Amendola, if we want to do it, is Marvin Jones, who has the plus matchup where we know Patrick Peterson will be on AJ Green. And this is pointed out by Mike Clay, by the way, but AJ Green on Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu on Mohamed Sanu and Tyler Eifert, and that leaves Gerard Powers to go against Marvin Jones, and Marvin Jones has played over 80% of the snaps in 4 straight weeks and has seen at least an average of 8 targets during that span too. So I think he's a pretty sharp tournament play.
I hate Marvin Jones. I like
Good.
have not.
Now we're cooking.
I've never gotten that guy right one time. But hey, everyone hated my tournament picks last week, and those dudes went off. So this is a good start right now. So at quarterback, we'll go with someone that I have. Actually, this is a good semi-correlation play. We'll go with Carson Palmer. If that game turns into a shootout, both of them will correlate to each other. So we got Palmer and Marvin Jones.
Okay. Do you want to go Fitz too, assuming that Floyd and John Brown will be at least limited?
I mean, we can do that. I don't have any Fitz exposure as of yet.
I mean, you don't want to go naked Carson, do you?
I mean, naked Carson might be the way to go. He might throw an 83-yard touchdown pass to Jerron Brown.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that. Um, I think you made a good point about Julio being 5%. And as much respect as I have for Vontae Davis, I obviously have way more respect for Julio. So I'll go ahead and take Julio.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, we'll just go ahead and get this out of the way. Tournament lineup, well, we don't care. We're still playing Sharkhandrick West at San Diego. So the team right now is Palmer, West, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones with an average of 5K left per slot.
Hmm. Okay. I think we should take at least one of Amendola or Stevie. Which one? If you want to take Gronk, we could go Stevie.
Yeah, let's do Stevie and Gronk as our next players.
Okay.
So you take Stevie, I'll take Gronk. All right, you gotta select our second running back.
Okay. How much do we have? So we have 4,500 left for three spots, including
Yeah.
defense. Yeah, see, I think that Freeman is going to be way more owned than Peterson, and at 1,600 less, I think Peterson might be 15 to 20% owned, which I think I'm okay with. So I'll go ahead and take Peterson.
Okay. We'll grab. Do you want to go Texans D or Bears D? Do you want to go straight savings?
Let's see what test it
Yeah,
out, see
yeah.
what we can get with the
Okay, so
flex.
we have with the Bears, we have 4,800. So that's like Watkins, Moncrief, Tavon. All these dudes suck. We might have put
Yeah.
ourselves in a corner. Yeah,
Okay. So what
this
if we
this kind
go
of sucks. So
What if we go Texans?
so if we go Texans, we will be at 4,300. We could go LaFell. We could go
We
LaFell in
go
that flex spot.
LaFell or
Amendola.
Amendola. Yeah, I think LaFell is probably the better tournament play given Amendola's projected ownership.
Yep. All right. Well, there we go. We got Palmer, West, AP, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, Stevie, Gronk, LaFell, Texans. All
That's
right.
the nuts.
We'll have to see if that beats the Swolecast team. If it
I feel
does,
like you guys have been eating
if
a
it
lot of
does.
chalk. You guys have been eating a lot of chalk lately on the Swolecast team.
Hey, dude, we didn't need it last week with my boy Langford.
This is
Dude,
true.
he was 1% owned. I have never seen a player that I thought was good at 1% owned because I'm the chalkiest dude ever. Like I eat the chalk all the time, and that like a guy I liked was 1%. It's like the first time ever. I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, no, that was a great play. I mean, I don't know. I think that people were intimidated by the Rams. That's all it is.
All right. So, do you have any guys we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention? We got through a good amount of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mentioned everybody. I am always on like a super narrow range of guys. I think you are too. That's why like I'm
Yeah.
never ever gonna win the Million Maker. Like it's literally like impossible for me ever
No.
to win the Million Maker.
No, dude, I'll just like take 315th and the $9 slant, like with my best team every single week. That's my ceiling. That's my absolute
Is
ceiling.
that
Because
your
I,
go-to tournament? Is the $9 slant your go-to tournament?
dude, the $9 slant is like the best value in DFS. Very undercover. I pump like 20 teams in that every week, and then enter those teams into all the like. I don't know. I don't want to put like 50 teams in the Million Maker to get like negative 80% ROI because like even good teams don't make any money there.
You don't gotta tell me. I mean, believe me, I'm not supposed to be saying bad things about DraftKings, but I do not play the Million Maker very often.
It's not like I think it's awesome entertainment, but for someone who like kind of like grinds DFS for like to like tries to like profit, that's not really the move. If I had like dude,
Exactly.
if I had like a $200,000 bankroll, absolutely I'd max enter it every week because at that point you're just trying to
Right.
like you're trying for the big score, but like dude, I'm trying to like buy an Xbox One. You feel me?
Yeah, you need a loan from at Dinks Millions if you want to
Yeah,
play the
yeah,
Million
yeah.
Maker.
Dinks Millions, come and find me, buddy. All right. Well, excellent show. We'll try and get you back, man. This was good. I like chatting football with you, man.
All right, yeah, this is one of the highlights of my life.
Swag. Take it easy, everybody.